Welcome to Cooking with Katerina. I don't care what time of year it is, whether it's 20 below zero like it feels right now, or it's 95 degrees outside. My dad always had to have some soup, and wedding soup was on the top of that list. And that's what we're making today. So let's get started. To begin making the wedding soup, there's a lot of things that you can prep in advance. And normally I prep my meatballs the day before, or you can even prep them and freeze them and have them ready for any time. So the ingredients you'll need for the meatballs is a pound of ground beef. I use 80/20. You'll need 1 egg, a quarter cup of water, which I put in with the egg and kind of whip it up a little. It blends better. A half a cup of breadcrumbs. Now I use the Italian breadcrumbs. We use a quarter teaspoon of granulated garlic, a quarter teaspoon of salt, a quarter teaspoon of pepper. We used a half a teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of parsley, and 2 tablespoons of grated cheese. And that is for the mixture for the meatballs. Now we'll move on, so I'll tell you the rest of what you need for the soup before we go back to making the meatballs. So what I do is I cook 2 bone-in chicken breasts. That's what I use. And I cook them in a pressure cooker. Now I'll put 8 cups of water in with the chicken breast. I'll cook the pressure cooker, cook them in the pressure cooker for about 15 minutes. Then I let the pressure cooker cool before I take out the chicken and debone it, chunk it up, just like I like it for soup. Now I also, with that broth that I'm going to use, the 8 cups, I also use 32 ounces of a store-bought chicken broth and an additional 8 cups of water. And that's what I have in here. So we also need 2 cups of cut carrots, 2 stalks of celery chopped, and 1/3 to a half a cup of onions. As far as the seasoning, you'll need a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt, a half a teaspoon of turmeric, and a half a teaspoon of granulated garlic. And I also use spinach in mine. This is a 12-ounce bag of frozen spinach. Now, you can use escarole, but I've learned when I visited California that to save my life, I couldn't find escarole, so we use spinach. But if you do buy escarole, make sure you clean it really good. I usually wash it up 2-3 times, depending on how dirty it is. I also use for my pasta esene de pepe. That's the noodle that I prefer in my wedding soup. So what we're going to do is go back to the meatballs, and we're going to put the quarter cup of water in with the egg, and I kind of just whip that up a little. Like I said, it blends better. And all you have to do is just a little. And we'll have that ready. We'll put in our breadcrumbs first. All of our seasonings and cheese. Make sure we get it all. And the egg and water mixture. Now what I'll do is I'll begin to mix this. Make sure you take off your rings And we'll mix this up real good, and when we come back, I'll show you the size meatballs you want for your wedding soup. I've mixed all the ingredients with the meat, and we're ready to form our meatballs. Now, I use what you would use for scooping out melons to make a beautiful fruit tray. I use the same thing when I'm doing the meatballs, only because I love to have them uniform. So I will scoop and roll so you can see how big that is. And they're about the size of a marble. So this recipe with the 1 pound of ground beef will make about 50 to 53 size meatballs. And if that's too much for your soup, which for us it isn't, you can put them in the freezer, right, you don't use. But that's how I do this. Now, once you've got them all done and in your baking dish, again, have your oven on 400. You're gonna cook them for 10 minutes. Take them out and kind of turn them so they get cooked evenly. Put them back in the oven for another 10 minutes. When they're done, then you want to remove them from the baking dish, and I put them in a container with some paper towels so they drain. That way you have less fat in your soup. So, I'll keep rolling. I put the broth on medium-high and brought it to a boil. So the next step, we'll put in all our seasonings and our vegetables. And our chicken. And we're gonna let this cook up for about 15 minutes. We want our carrots and onions and celery to cook up a bit before we put in our pasta. And then the last two things to go in will be the meatballs and the spinach. Now, the one thing I forgot to tell you, and is very important to me, before I cook the chicken in the pressure cooker, I remove the skin, simply because I don't want that extra fat in my soup or have it be oily, so I remove the skin. And we'll be back when it's time to put in the pasta. Okay, we cooked the vegetables and the chicken and the broth for 15 minutes. And now we're gonna add the pasta, the acini di pepe. We'll stir that up. And we're gonna let this cook up for at least 15 to 20 minutes before we add the meatballs and the spinach. Now it's time to put in the meatballs. And as you can see, those meatballs look amazing. So we'll put in the meatballs here. Hold on, let me just get rid of this paper towel now. That'll make it so much easier. There we go. And then we'll put in the spinach. And again, we'll let it cook up for about 15 minutes. Check the pasta. And if it's cooked, you're good to go. But look how beautiful. Look at this. Look. We'll see you soon. In case you were wondering how many meatballs I made, I actually made 54. However, the cameraman decided he wanted to taste one, so I actually only put in 53 in the soup. Another thing, if that is too much pasta for you in the soup, you can always reduce it from 1 cup down to 3/4 cup. I know some people in our family like a lot of the pasta in their soup, so we make it the way we like it. Now it's time to taste test. And hopefully this is cooled off enough. And these meatballs, I guarantee you, are delicious and soft, perfect. Like my lips. Absolutely delicious. I know you're going to love it. And if you would do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this video with your family and friends, we would really appreciate it. Also, some other videos will be popping up on the screen. If you'd like to look at those, there might be something there to interest you. In the meantime, blessings, and keep on cooking. Thank you.